Antidepressants. Happy pill, miracle drug, wonder drug. With its use skyrocketing in recent decades, it is time to take a closer look. Prepare for an unbiased exploration that seeks to shed light on the realities of using antidepressants as a treatment for depression. How did it all start? The origin of antidepressants can be traced back to the 1950s, when a significant breakthrough occurred by chance. During the development of new tuberculosis treatment, chemists conducted a trial with the drug iproniazid on patients at Seaview Hospital in Staten Island. This trial marked a pivotal moment in the history of depression treatment, as the patients experienced remarkable improvements in their well-being. Previously plagued by lethargy and sadness, they now reported enhanced mood, increased appetite, and better sleep. The introduction of iproniazid caused a sensation, and it received approval for use in 1958. This drug works by inhibiting an enzyme called MAO, which is responsible for breaking down chemical messengers like serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. This breakthrough heralded the advent of a new class of depression medications known as MAO inhibitors. However, iproniazid was later withdrawn from most parts of the world in 1961 due to a high incidence of hepatitis. It was subsequently replaced by less hepatotoxic drugs such as phenelzine and isocarboxazid. Nevertheless, iproniazid holds historical significance as it helped establish the link between psychiatric disorders and the metabolism of neurotransmitters. Although iproniazid was one of the earliest antidepressants to be marketed, amphetamine, sold as benzendrine from 1935 for mild depression and other indications, predates it. In the 1950s, tricyclic antidepressants emerged, while imipramine was initially tested on individuals with schizophrenia and proved ineffective. It showed better results in those with depression, leading to its approval as a depression medication in 1959. During the early 1970s, evidence supporting the role of serotonin, remember this term for later, in depression started to accumulate, coinciding with growing concerns about the side effects of previously mentioned antidepressants and similar drugs. This paved the way for the emergence of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, which proved to be more effective than previous generations of antidepressants and had fewer side effects. A significant milestone in the history of antidepressants came with the approval of fluoxetine by the FDA in 1987, which subsequently entered the market the following year under the brand name Prozac. Within a year, nearly 2.5 million prescriptions had been dispensed. Other SSRIs that have been released since then include paroxetine, sertraline, citalopram, escitalopram, and fluoxamine. However, while SSRIs are considered equally effective as older antidepressants for mild or moderate depression, they were perceived as less effective for treating severe depression. This perception led to the development of other antidepressants, such as serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, SNRIs, as researchers shifted their focus from solely boosting serotonin to also enhancing other neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and dopamine, which play a role in mood regulation. Examples of SNRIs include bupropion and venlafaxine. However, SSRIs are today most popular class of antidepressants, most popular of them being Prozac, Celexa, Zoloft, Paxil, and Lexapro. But how effective are antidepressants really, if at all? There's a lot of controversy regarding their effectiveness, ranging from studies claiming them to be very useful in treating depression, to some claiming that they are simply not worth taking when considering the wide range of side effects. Side effects can include restlessness, gastrointestinal problems, lower sex drive, changes in appetite, fatigue, insomnia, and emotional numbness. While there are some reports that mention people even experiencing seizures and suicidal thoughts. Numerous studies have examined the effectiveness of all kinds of antidepressants, and many of them have shown significantly different results. In this video, we are going to focus on one particular meta-analysis. A meta-analysis refers to a statistical analysis that combines the results of multiple scientific studies. The one we are going to focus on is considered the largest research on antidepressants ever conducted in history. This meta-analysis includes a total of 522 scientific studies conducted between 1979 and 2016. It specifically tested 21 second-generation antidepressants, involving 116,000 patients with a median age of 44, of which 62.3% were women. The studies compared antidepressants against each other or a placebo, depending on the study design. If you want to learn more details about this research, you can find a link in the video description. The main conclusions gathered from the data provided are as follows. All 21 antidepressants were more effective than a placebo, with odds ratios ranging between 2.13 for amitriptyline and 1.37 for reboxetine. To clarify, an odds ratio of 1.37 for reboxetine, for example, means that reboxetine has a 37% greater likelihood of an effect compared to a placebo. The most effective antidepressants identified in the meta-analysis were agomelatine, amitriptyline, escitalopram, mirtazapine, paroxetine, venlafaxine, and reboxetine. On the other hand, the least effective drugs were fluoxetine, fluvoxamine, reboxetine, and trazodone. In terms of acceptability, which in this case refers to the odds of patients stopping treatment for any reason, agomelatine, citalopram, escitalopram, fluoxetine, sertraline, and vortioxetine were found to be the most acceptable to patients. However, amitriptyline, clomiopramine, duloxetine, fluvoxamine, reboxetine, trazodone, and venlafaxine had the highest dropout rates. It's important to note that this meta-analysis is not without its critics. 78% of all studies included were sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. However, funding by industry was not associated with substantial differences in terms of response or dropout rates. Also, it's crucial to remember that we are not medical professionals and we do not advise you to quit your medications. If you are considering a change, please consult your doctor first. Now, let's focus on a more fundamental question. How do modern antidepressants really work? In general, antidepressants change the way your brain uses certain neurotransmitters to better regulate your mood and behavior. They primarily affect neurotransmission involving serotonin, norepinephrine, and less commonly, dopamine. The widely accepted belief is that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain, with serotonin being the most often mentioned chemical. Most antidepressants work by boosting serotonin production. The class of antidepressants, known as SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, amplify serotonin production, and are the most prescribed in the world right now. However, recent studies have shown that there is simply no evidence that depressed people have lower amounts of serotonin compared to healthy individuals. A review of evidence from 2022 highlights 5 different conclusions taken from multiple studies that seem to contradict the serotonin hypothesis. Let's take a brief look at what was found. First evidence. When serotonin is transferred from one neuron to another, some of it leaves the synaptic gap, which is a small gap between two neurons where neural impulses are relayed by a neurotransmitter. The serotonin that leaves is broken down into a metabolite called 5-HIAA. One would expect that people with depression would have a lower amount of 5-HIAA. According to the study, the amount is the same in patients with and without depression. Second evidence. It has been found that sometimes serotonin leaves the synaptic gap without being metabolized into 5-HIAA. This unmetabolized serotonin enters the blood plasma. When testing took place, it was found that the amount of serotonin in the plasma was the same in patients with and without depression. Third evidence. Let's examine the synaptic gap more closely. Neurotransmitters are typically transferred from the presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. The postsynaptic membrane contains specific receptor sites that receive serotonin molecules from the presynaptic membrane. If there are changes in the amount of serotonin, the number of receptors would also change. Again, research has found no difference in the number of these receptors in people with depression compared to healthy individuals. Fourth evidence. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid that serves as a precursor for serotonin synthesis. If a person lacks tryptophan, it means they also lack serotonin. Individuals who were found to have lower levels of tryptophan in multiple studies showed no effects of tryptophan depletion on their mood compared to people with a normal amount of tryptophan in their bodies. Fifth evidence. The SIRT gene. This gene is responsible for encoding SIRT molecules, which are located on the presynaptic membrane. These molecules are responsible for reuptaking serotonin molecules back to presynaptic membrane. The more SIRT molecules you have, the more serotonin is reabsorbed, resulting in less serotonin being transferred and potentially leading to more depression. However, a genetic study observing people with varying amounts of the SERT gene found no correlation between the amount of SERT molecules and their mental health. With all this evidence lined up, we can clearly see that serotonin hypothesis is pretty much debunked right now. But how is this possible? The meta-analysis of 522 studies shows clearly that antidepressants really do work to some extent. But the specific mechanisms behind their effectiveness remain unclear. They do boost serotonin, yet serotonin levels in brain are obviously not connected to depression. This mystery surrounding their workings is indeed fascinating to contemplate. Brain is a mysterious and fascinating organ. It is the control center of the human body, responsible for processing information, coordinating bodily functions, and enabling us to think, reason, and experience emotions. Despite decades of research, there is still much we do not fully understand about it. The brain's complexity and interconnectedness make it a subject of ongoing scientific investigation and discovery. As our understanding deepens, we hope to unravel more of its mysteries and gain insights into its fundamental nature. We warmly invite individuals who possess first-hand experience with antidepressants to kindly share their insights and perspectives in the comment section below. By engaging in this collaborative dialogue, we aspire to foster an environment of open discussion and aim to approach a deeper understanding of the subject matter at hand. Also, consider becoming our patron. Your contribution through Patreon plays a pivotal role in sustaining and enhancing the quality of our content. It enables us to dedicate more time and resources to deliver engaging and meaningful content for you to enjoy. To join our Patreon community, simply click the link below in the description.